Welcome back. Today I'm making a savory pumpkin casserole from Estonia called Kõrvitsavorm. So to get started, we need a medium-sized pumpkin. I'm using a kabocha squash because it's one of my personal favorites, but you can use any sort of baking pumpkin that you'd use for a pie. Now there's a number of ways you can cook this. You can either shred it finely so that it cooks in the casserole dish. You can pre-bake it, or you can do what I'm doing and boil it. So I'm gonna peel it. And I'm gonna chop it into 1 centimeter cubes to make it easy and quick to cook. I'm gonna bring a pot of water to a boil. Season it with plenty of salt. And dump in the pumpkin. I'm gonna let this go for anywhere between 10 and 20 minutes. Really, you probably only need to parboil this, considering it's gonna bake later on in the casserole. Once it's done boiling, we can remove that out to a bowl and let it cool off. Next up, we're gonna make the filling for the casserole. Now this dish has a million different ways you can do it. You can make it savory, you can make it sweet. I'm doing a savory version here, so I'm gonna make a mushroom bacon filling. I guess you could call it a filling. It's more of just extra ingredients. So here I have a bowl full of mushrooms. I'm gonna remove the stems. I'm gonna dice them up. And now I want to saute them. But when you saute mushrooms, they tend to soak up a ton of oil. So to prevent that, what we're going to do is simmer them in a little bit of water. Now there's a scientific reason behind this, but I recommend you go ahead and check out the video linked in the description from America's Test Kitchen, where Dan goes in depth on the reasoning behind that. Once all the water has evaporated, we can go ahead and add in a few tablespoons of olive oil. And once the oil has come to temperature, I'm going to add in a diced up onion. And I'm going to saute that until it's translucent. Next, I'll add in a couple cloves of minced garlic. I'm going to saute that until it's fragrant. And now I'm going to add in some smoked meat. In my case, I have smoked American style pork belly bacon, but you can use a smoked ham, you can use chicken, you can use any sort of meat that you want. So if you can't eat pork, don't run away. Just adapt it to your own tastes. Once the bacon and the mushrooms have taken on a little bit of color, we can remove those off to the side and prepare our casserole. Go ahead and grease up a baking dish with some butter. Then we're going to dump in the pumpkin. As well as our mushroom and bacon filling. I'm going to season this with a pinch of grated nutmeg. An equal amount of ground clove, and some salt and pepper. Mix that thoroughly, and then I'm going to add in a couple beaten eggs, along with about 50 milliliters, a couple splashes of heavy cream. And this will form sort of a custard in the casserole as it's baking, which will lighten up the texture of the pumpkin. I'm gonna add in a handful of shredded cheese. I'm using Gruyere, but you could use any type of melted cheese that you like. I'm going to top it with a little bit more cheese to create a nice little golden crust on top. And then I'm going to pop it in a 200 Celsius or 400 Fahrenheit oven for about 30 minutes. If it's not looking crispy towards the end, you may want to throw on the broiler for a few minutes. And once those 30 minutes are up, we can go ahead and serve it. So between the savory sauteed mushrooms and bacon, the pumpkin spice notes of the nutmeg and clove, and the rich and creamy baked pumpkin, this is basically autumn in a casserole. So if you're sick of candied yams, then I recommend replacing them with this Kõrvitsavorm for next Thanksgiving. See you next time. Cheers.